And I offer my most loving pranams to everyone. So Zone 5 is a relatively small zone, and there are a number of countries, and the two larger countries are Japan and Hong Kong. And I'd like to begin with a short presentation about Japan. Next slide, please. The Japanese devotees are known for their great devotion to Bhagwan, and for the Sai 100 initiative, they're planning a lot of activities, but they've set up their own offering for Swami's 100th birthday. Next slide, please. And the initiative is entitled In Constant Remembrance of God in Our Hearts. We offer the flower of oneness of love for fellow human beings. And they had their first program on the 28th of October, 2023, with the Veda team's Ekadasa Rudra Prayanam in Hokkaido, and 100 devotees participated. They are known for their Rudram chanting, and their chanting is as good as any Indian devotees you will come across. Next slide, please. They also embark in a lot of activities, including study circles, learning of Rudram, learning of Swami's teachings and Gayatri chanting. Next slide, please. And they also do their seva activities. Dr. Reddy just spoke about that. So these are just glimpses of what is happening in Japan, and they are in the stage of planning more fully their Sai 100 activities. Next slide, please. We move to Hong Kong, where a lot of initiative has already started for Sai 100. And I'd like to preface this by making two observations. In Hong Kong, there are two main community adoption programs, and one is to support the ethnic minority refugees who are in Hong Kong. And secondly is to provide meals to the homeless in Hong Kong. And the latter seva has been going on for over 12 years, and they distribute over 2,000 odd meals per month, every month. And in the past 10 odd years, over 250,000 meals have been delivered. Next slide. So as we wait for the next slide, we will be talking about the initiatives. And in Hong Kong, in the Sai organization, we do not have doctors. And what we are able to do is to arrange through other NGOs and through the government, medical camps, whereby we have outside speakers coming into the Sai Center. And we use the Sai Center as a venue to attract crowds, namely members of the South Asian community. I will stop on that point for a moment, but this is one of the things we do for the refugees. Recently, we had a distribution of over 200 bags and containing the items that you see on the list. And on a weekly basis, every Wednesday, we deliver lunch for the refugees. Next slide, please. Next slide, Nilesh. So let me come back then as they manage the slides. We have organized medical camps for the South Asian community. Next slide, please. And we have organized talks for them. And in addition to the medical camps, as part of the wellness program, which is one of the Sai 100 initiatives, we've organized a number of activities for good health in the Sai Center. And that includes yoga classes, classes on diets, includes classes on psychological well-being and emotional well-being. And in that regard, one of our former Bhavikas coordinators is now a practicing clinical psychologist, and she helps with giving talks for this purpose. So what you have in front of you is one of the medical camps for the ethnic minorities, and you will see the service that provided. Next slide, please. And that's one of the women's health programs with the members from outside, NGO from outside. Next slide, please. So Dr. Sheena Kanani is the Bhavikas coordinator, and her talks has proved very, very helpful. And a lot of non-devotees are coming in from the Indian community to take advantage of the lessons. Next slide, please. So as you will note that even without having the resources all the resources within the SAI organization, we're doing our best with other organizations where appropriate to fulfill our offering to Bhagwan for Sai 100. Next slide, please. So this was the mental wellness workshop I was telling you about. And these sessions are normally attended by the ladies, so we keep the ladies and men separate. Next slide, please. And I was very blessed as you're looking at this. I walked into the Sai Center recently for a study class, and I noticed South Asian women, some are Muslims, some are of other communities in the Sai Center doing a yoga class. And we can take for granted our access to such exercises and breathing exercises, but those members of that community do not often have access. And that is what the Sai Center and one of the devotees there is offering. What you see in front of you is the first tree planting that we did in Hong Kong. 37 participants were there. We've lined up our next tree planting in early 2024. And this is all part of the tree planting initiative of Sai 100. And Hong Kong aims to play its part. Next slide, please. So as that is moving along, I'd just like to move on to a wholly different area, which is I'm sorry, before I do that, you will see the tuition homework help program, which is being done for the refugees as well. In fact, for many years in the past, we were also offering tuition at primary school level for underprivileged South Asian school children who are not part of the refugees. Next slide, please. As I'm coming to an end of my time, I just want to, again, and you'll see this in due course, talk about some of the homeless services that we've done. And it's a whole organization. I think we've been able to do with Swami's grace is to encourage other organizations to take up seva of the homeless, and a lot of other Indian spiritual organizations are doing so. Lastly, I'd like to round up with this. This is a program that's been running for many years and is part and parcel now of the tutorial classes. And this is a program which the young adults and the Bhavikas children initiated, where they teach English to local kids and South Asian kids. And in the course of teaching English and in the activities, they incorporate SSEHV. And so there is the dual purpose, and from time to time, they also conduct classes for the parents. Next slide. And Nilesh, you may rush them up, and we will wind down the presentation.